Joining me now is Jason Nichols. He's a senior lecturer in the African American Studies Department at the University of Maryland. So, Jason, first, we've seen these commemorations. U.S. President Joe Biden is scheduled to travel to Tulsa on Tuesday. I want to get your reaction to the day's events and what has this taught us?
Well, I think it's taught us a lot of lessons about why it is that we have the disparities that we have in wealth, that this was not just an action, it's not something that has just happened over time. We have these disparities because of the actions of the past, and that we need to commemorate them and remember them so that they don't happen again. And I think one of the points about Homeland Security saying that even this commemoration could have been attacked by terrorists tells us that we still have a long way to go in a way to challenge institutionalized and individual racism, and that our communities are threatened in so many different ways. And we have to remember our past in order to not repeat it. So it showed how important this commemoration actually is.
And that being said, Jason, what has changed in the last 100 years for African Americans in the United States?
Well, I think we always have to acknowledge the progress that's been made. If we don't do that, then we don't honor the people who worked so hard and shed blood and actually died for the progress that we have today. So lots of progress has been made. We've seen symbolic and incremental changes, and those are positive. But at the same time, we still have these incredible wealth gaps. Black people are worth 1/8 to 1/10 of the average white family. We still have gaps in health care and health outcomes. We still have environmental racism where Black people don't even breathe the same quality air in many cases or drink the same quality water. So there's racism and institutionalized and structural racism all around us, and that certainly has not changed over the last 100 years. We have made some progress, but there's still so much that needs to be done. And the way that you get rid of anything, and I always tell people that racism is a cancer. The way you get rid of any disease is not by denying that you have it. It's by acknowledging that you have it and trying to treat it. And that's the problem that America is having right now, is actually acknowledging that we do have an issue with racism and with institutionalized and structural racism.
And part of that is education. So what percentage of Americans really know about the Tulsa Race Massacre? And do you think that is changing?
Well, I think that it is changing. As someone who teaches even intro courses in African American studies, I would say that there are many people who don't know the basics. I think, many of our public schools around the country, they have this very reductionist way of teaching African American studies and African American history. So kids learn I Have a Dream, they learn Dr. King, and not particularly well. And that's about what they get in terms of our history. There's so much more that needs to be taught. There's so much more depth that we need to get. But again, it reaches this, or it faces this political opposition where people politicize teaching history and don't want people to know what actually happened in the past for what reasons God knows.
Very quickly, about 30 seconds left. That brings us to critical race theory. There's been a lot of debate and discussion around that. Just your quick take on critical race theory and the teaching of that in American schools.
Well, first of all, I would say that American schools generally don't teach critical race theory. Critical race theory is an advanced level theory that you get in graduate school. It's an outgrowth of critical legal theory, and which is an outgrowth of critical theory, which argues that social problems are created by structures and not by individuals, and maintained by structures. So I think that people think that their kids are going to get critical race theory in the 4th grade, and they're just not. And I think what people are objecting to is something that they don't really understand. People don't understand what critical race theory is, and they're afraid that their kids are actually going to learn the truth about race and racism in our country, which is vitally necessary in order for us to move forward as a society.
Great discussion. We'll have to continue it another time. Jason Nichols, thank you so much.
Thank you, Elaine.